Good evening on TV47 News Tonight. Tonight, Mombasa County risks imposition of more stringent COVID-19 protocols as infections spike in April. Also tonight, Central Kenya MPs decry what they say is Jubilee government's neglect of the region on matters development. Plus, new report shows cases of gender-based violence increased by 92% last year. COVID-19 containment measures blamed for the surge in the vice. And thousands of HIV patients may never experience a shortage of ARVs again after a Kenyan-based pharmaceutical was given the green light to manufacture the life-saving drugs. And Wairimu is our sign language interpreter. Good evening, I'm Abubakar Abdullahi. Welcome to the broadcast. Now soon, Kenya will start manufacturing ARVs after Universal Pharmaceutical Company, based in Kikuyu, received a license from the World Health Organization to start producing the medicine. Meanwhile, KEMSA has so far dispatched ARVs to 31 counties, and the remaining 16 counties will start receiving the drug from Monday next week. The government has assured Kenyans that there is no shortage of the drugs and that all patients will receive their medication in time. Sharon Baranga now reports.
In the recent weeks, people living with HIV, together with activists, have been demonstrating over concerns of shortage of ARVs in the country. On Thursday, the government assured the public that the drugs are enough and no patient will miss to take their medication. Already drugs meant for 31 counties have been dispatched. The remaining 16 counties will begin receiving the medicine from Monday next week.
All facilities in this country will have the medication they need for the 1.4 million patients. So we are assuring the nation that no patient is going to miss drugs. We have adequate stocks for those patients. And when they visit these facilities, they'll be able to be dispensed for these supplies. And we expect these facilities to have, at any time, 2 months of stocks, which means that at any particular time, these facilities will have a 3 months stock. That is how we operate, and in these particular circumstances, we are distributing the ARVs for the month of April.
There was a stalemate between the Ministry of Health and USAID over taxation of the drugs, which were rumored to have been held at the Mombasa port. Sources at KEMSA clarified that the consignment had been released from the port and they are stored at a warehouse in Nairobi, awaiting clearance.
We are tired. They are tired of all these issues, of shortages and everything else, simply because of bureaucratic issues. I think this needs to be solved once and for all.
We don't have that authority to speak on behalf of the USA nor MOH, but what we can assure you is that that standoff, as far as we are concerned, has been resolved and we should be receiving the commodities anytime.
Soon, Kenya will start manufacturing ARVs after Universal Pharmaceutical Company, based in Kikuyu, received a license from the World Health Organization to start producing the medicine, and therefore, the recent stalemate witnessed might never be experienced again.
And what that means is that it will be double-edged. On one hand, the drugs or the ARVs will be achieving the universal health coverage. On the other hand, it will be achieving the other agenda of industrialization.
In the meantime, human rights organizations led by HIV/AIDS People Alliance of Kenya, Sex Workers Alliance and Transgender Community held a demonstration calling out on the government to release and avail ARVs to health facilities.
They should prioritize kuhakikisha wanatupatia ARVs. Hatutaki wakati inafika kwamba hatuna ARVs mpaka tunabaki na chupa empty hivi, alafu bado wanatuambia yako kwa TV imefanya nini ati ndio italetwa. Tumesikia hiyo story ilianza tangu kitambo wakisema wameshasuluhisha mambo na ilikuwa hajasuluhishwa.
We really urge the government to tighten their system because these drugs we need them urgently. Kindly the government act now.
The ARVs were dispatched at 11 a.m. from the KEMSA Supply Chain Center in Embakasi, Nairobi. Sharon Baranga, TV47.
Now, the country has reported a 92% increase in the number of gender-based violence cases reported between January and June 2020. A total of 5,000 cases were reported within the past 1 year. Nairobi and Kiambu are among the worst affected counties, with poverty, domestic disputes and identity crisis among the young people listed as some of the contributing factors. Mwangi Maina has the details.
From January to June 2020, when the country was battling the unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic, gender-based violence ostensibly established its roots in the Kenyan society. Within the 6-month period, the country reported a 92% increase in the number of gender-based violence cases reported compared to the same period in 2019. Cumulatively, GBV cases reported via GBV toll-free helpline in 2020 stood at 5,009, representing a 36% increase or 1,411 new cases compared to what was reported in 2019. The statistics were read out by Gender Cabinet Secretary Professor Margaret Kobia as presented by the National Crime Research Institute after President Uhuru Kenyatta ordered a study into the staggering GBV cases reported.
Gender-based violence has a very negative impact on economic growth. So the cost of not confronting it is bigger than if it would be more disastrous if we waited to do something about it in the future.
All of us are affected one way or another. If it is not your sister that has been affected, it is your niece, it is your auntie, it is your friend, it is someone you know. And therefore it must be a national conversation that we must have as a people.
The COVID-19 pandemic and increase in depression among Kenyans have been cited as some of the major causes of the spike in gender-based violence. According to CS Kobia, only 20% of GBV cases are reported, while 90% of this violence is meted on women. Kenyans have been asked to speak out and not to ignore any red flags.
It is very common to be told that is a domestic matter, right from where we report, right from our neighborhood, right from the community, Nyumba Kumi. People are likely to say that is a domestic issue and we leave it. But we have left it as a domestic issue for too long, to the extent that the gains we are making, socioeconomic gains we are making as a country, are going to be counterproductive if gender-based violence continues to thrive in Kenya.
Other GBV contributing factors that have been outlined by the National Crime Research Institute include alcohol, drugs and substance abuse, domestic and family disputes, poor parenting, identity crisis among the youth, poverty, among others. The worst affected counties include Kiambu, Nairobi, Kisumu, Nakuru and Kakamega.
Someone will leave Thika here, go to Moi University with a panga, kill someone. And still the outrage is not, people don't see that the crime. I think there's really a big problem. And I really call on Kenyans, please, let's protect our sisters, our daughters, our mothers. These are, surely, how can we be a proud society to say that we're Kenyans if we're not taking care of our own?
If we do not confront this matter of gender-based violence in its every form, I think as a country we will end up with a society that it struggles, or we miss our whole intergeneration.
The common forms of GBV being reported include physical assault, rape, murder, sexual offences, defilement, child marriages, child neglect, among others. Mwangi Maina, TV47, Nairobi.
Elsewhere, the National Assembly's Public Investment Committee was today snubbed by Jubilee Party Vice Chair David Murathe on the KEMSA Billions probe. Murathe, however, says he was a signatory of Kelly Company, a company under investigation. Mudhoni Maina has the details.
The Jubilee Vice Chairman David Murathe brushed off the National Assembly Public Investments Committee over the KEMSA tenders. Murathe was expected to appear Thursday before the committee over a company known as Kilig Limited Firm that was allegedly awarded Kenya shillings 4 billion by the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority, KEMSA.
That affidavit, that statement they have written, and I feel what they have so far written is extremely very shallow. It's not candid enough to give us a valuable information, and it was worthwhile for them to have appeared before this committee so that we could be able to get and interrogate them further.
However, Murathe confirmed through an affidavit that he was a signatory to Kilig Limited, which did not supply anything and was not paid. On 6 April 2020, Kilig allegedly offered to supply 450,000 KEMSA PPE kits at 9,000 Kenya shillings each, addressed to the managing director dated 9th April 2020 through a commitment letter to KEMSA Embakasi warehouse. On 17th April, Mr. Xu Jinping and Murathe resigned as Kilig directors and transferred their shares in the company to Mr. Collins Bush Wanjala.
We equally have the same for Collins Bush Wanjala, and he confirms that I have no claim against the company for compensation in respect of that or any other matter.
Murathe in one radio station said that he has a lot of information pertaining the committee.
But it has come to our notice that one member who looks like is the influence peddler in the executive has the audacity to go to the vernacular radio station, be able to really ridicule this committee, and it failed to come before us.
On September 4, 2020, Murathe arrived at the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission EACC, where he publicly disowned his affiliation to the company. Mudhoni Maina, TV47.
Moving on, the search for the next Chief Justice entered its 9th day today, with Professor Dr. Wekesa Moni appearing for questioning by the Judicial Service Commission panel. Moni says he will ensure judicial services reach all Kenyans if he is picked as the next Chief Justice. Josh Onsare has the details.
On Thursday, man with 3 prefixes on his name, Professor Dr. Wekesa Moni, was the 9th candidate to face the JSC panel. Wekesa, who has 16 years' experience in the legal profession, made the commissioners want to know why he had to study law in early 2000.
Because of doing service to the country, I traveled with the national junior soccer team to Helsinki in 1992. One of the boys punched somebody there and he was arrested. Now, the coach and team manager said, Daktari, wewe ndio unaweza kuongea na hao watu. Sasa enda utusaidie kutoa mtu yetu. Honorable Chair, I felt totally handicapped. I thought I had attained. I thought I had read it all. He was eventually released. From then on, Honorable Chair, the seats of studying law were sold.
Professor Wekesa's previous judgment appeared to be used against him. The commissioners questioning his capability to lead the judiciary.
Even when some of them tested positive, track and field, they are always on national duty, but they test positive. And out there, the world was complaining, you Kenyans, you are playing dirty.
You see, Prof, the point that I'm driving across, you'll be the Chief Justice there. You can imagine when you put on record somebody's name regarding an allegation, you know, you've already defamed them. You know the implications of that. And removing that record, that's a record that you will always follow them.
A question asked to all candidates eyeing the Chief Justice position is the management of the backlog of cases. Wekesa says he will use virtual courts to reduce the cases in courts.
Let us talk to Kenyans. Let us educate them. Let them be able to take a conscious decision whether they want to come to court or they want to avail themselves of the ADR.
To deal with corruption cases in the courts, Wekesa says he will employ continuous discussions on the vice to deal with it.
In all the reports I have read, including the strategic plans, the word corruption features everywhere. Meaning there must be something to do with corruption. So, if there is, one of the ways I would propose that we deal with it is have a continuous discussion on why it should not be there.
To resolve the issue of short-term diplomacy and discussion on long-term, if appointed Chief Justice.
I would want this to be people-driven so that we are not at the mercy of one person. It's very, very dangerous. I would want that one person also to receive pressure, get pressure from the people. The judiciary is for the people. So, in my approach, short-term diplomacy, long-term engage other people who are likely to support the judiciary should it ever come under siege in the future, in terms of funding, in terms of disobedience of court orders, or in any other form.
The vetting of Chief Justice candidates is at its tail end. Tomorrow, Aliciano faces JSC panel to convince the commissioners if a 25 years experience will help in reforming the judiciary. Joash Onsare, TV47 Supreme Court, Nairobi.
Thank you, Josh Onsare, for that. Remember, Professor Dr. Wekesa Moni was the 9th candidate to have been interviewed by the Judicial Service Commission in the quest to find the retired Chief Justice Maraga's replacement. Of course, the interviews come to the tail end, as Josh notes there. The 10th candidate will appear before the Judicial Service Commission tomorrow. Time for us to take a short break. We'll be back with more news after this break. Stay tuned.
Raukia siku njema na tunukiwa offers kila siku. Pata offers zote mahali pamoja ili uongeze zaidi, utume SMS zaidi na ubrowse zaidi.
Wewe usijali. Tuma namba ya kila supplier kwa hiyo soko. Nitajoble nitaongea na kila mmoja wao.
Very good. Piga *444 hash utunukiwe Credo double.
Raukia siku njema na tunukiwa offers kila siku.
Oh, hi. It's not what you're thinking. It's a cup of coffee. Coffee, movie. Together, coffee with movie. Every Sunday, 8 p.m. on TV47, where we bring you interesting, enticing people. Well, we've concentrated on musicians.
Yeah.
Watu wakatike.
Yeah.
producers.
So now I manage because telemanagement and events management, I think was my passion.
Right about now, we want to go beyond to the counties and to other countries. I'll see you. Let the sun stand still like Joshua time for 3 hours, but this time for only 1 hour. We bring you Coffee with Movie, interesting, enticing guests. I'll see you. Tunaweza anza tuna Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, twende Uganda, Magufuli Land, TZ, you never know. It is Coffee with Movie. Jua unaweza enda sasa.
Before the markets open, farmers begin their day, each with the desire to produce the best. But how can they increase the numbers, maintain the standards,
Aitoi ile garlic inafaa itoi, that standard garlic.
reduce the cost,
we spread our risk,
and yet remain the best? Kilimo Diaries, every Sunday when the clock hits 7:30 p.m.
Welcome back. Now, the Mombasa County COVID-19 Preparedness and Response Committee has today warned the residents of Mombasa against flouting COVID-19 regulations. The county has reported an increase in new infections compared to last month, which has been attributed to majority of residents, institutions and other businesses not adhering to COVID-19 restrictions put in place by the county and national government.
Mombasa County has reported an increase in numbers of COVID-19 infection in April compared to last month. The increase in numbers has been attributed to residents disobeying the restrictions put in place by the national and county government to curb the virus. According to Mombasa County COVID-19 Preparedness and Response Committee, 752 cases had been reported as of Thursday against 762 reported in March. The trend has now started worrying the committee as 67 positive cases have also been reported in the last 24 hours. Residents have been accused of not social distancing and overcrowding in places of worship.
Especially in the places of worship. We have noticed that in mosques, people are allowed in more than the stipulated number. In some mosques, there is even an overflow of people. You know, we should not use the excuse of the month of Ramadan to fulfill the mosques. We must follow these protocols.
Speaking to journalist Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho has cautioned residents not to take the regulation lightly, as ignorance will lead to more stringent measures. The governor has also urged Muslims to be alert and adhere to the restrictions, especially during the month of Ramadan.
Now, for us to be able to defeat COVID, there are certain things that the government can do, and there are those that the citizens must do. So you don't want to get to a point where now we are forced again to make those very hard decisions of closing down places, or looking at cessation of movement to be re-implemented.
Mombasa County hospitality industry has also found a reprieve after Governor Joho announced the suspension of bed levies, extension of single business permits, and reduction of other licenses by 50%. As COVID-19 numbers continue to rise in Mombasa County, the Governor Ali Hassan Joho has warned that if residents continue to flout the COVID-19 regulations, then the county will face the same fate as the counties in the red zoned areas. For TV47, I'm Patronila Goren.
Elsewhere, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, maintains that it only transmitted copies it received from the BBI promoters to county assemblies for debate. The commission was reacting to claims that only 13 county assemblies debated the correct bill. However, a section of constitutional lawyers believe that the errors can be amended, as Musa Salah now reports.
Tomorrow at 9:30 a.m.
New reports that about 34 county assemblies debated on and processed an erroneous BBI bill that made reference to non-existent articles in the Constitution has sparked debate in the political arena pundits questioning the legality of the bill before the august House, threatening the push for a referendum. Discrepancies between the bill taken to the Senate and the National Assembly indicate the two houses were given different documents. The Joint Legal Affairs Committee, which is looking into the BBI bill, has established the bicameral parliament has received two versions of the bill with marginal and typographical errors. A scrutiny report of the bill forwarded to the two houses by constitutional experts Professor Patricia Mbote and Dr. Collins Odote notes that the bill submitted to the Senate by the MCAs gives reference to Clause 2 of Article 97B of the Constitution, while the one presented to the National Assembly gives reference to Clause 3 of the same article. The Professor Patricia Mbote-led experts noted that the members of county assemblies ought to have quoted Clause 2 as there is no Clause 3 in Article 97 of the Constitution. In a statement to newsrooms, IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati claims that the Commission only transmitted to the counties 47 out of the 57 copies of the bill it received from the BBI promoters.
Only one document was sent to IEBC, and IEBC was the one responsible for sending the document out. And the document that we know was voted on is the one that was sent by IEBC. If there were other people who downloaded it from the online and the rest, then you may have done a draft much earlier.
However, legal experts have agreed with the JLAC's resolution to amend the errors before it is debated in Parliament. Lawyer Paul Mwangi, who was a joint secretary in the process, asked Parliament to proceed as planned, claiming that the Constitution allows the Attorney General to correct the grammatical errors made in writing laws. His counterpart Kamotho Waiganjo holding that the mistakes can be changed as long as they do not alter fundamental laws in the Constitution.
These sorts of things can happen. They shouldn't, but they can happen. And when they do, unless the intentions of the law are not clear, unless there's a confusion as to the intent of the law, those typographical errors should be corrected by the Attorney General before the bill, once the bill is passed, or because it needs to be, by the time it goes to the president for assent or thereafter, it needs to be corrected because issues are typographical.
Musa Salah, TV47.
Still in politics, and members of parliament allied to Deputy President William Ruto from the Mount Kenya region have drafted a proposal to Deputy President William Ruto in their pre-2022 agreements. However, there are claims of a divided team, with some already pushing for Ruto's running posts as the region's bare minimum in supporting the DP. Andrin Kilemi now reports.
After a series of meetings by a section of members of parliament from the Mount Kenya region to discuss what they have termed as the economic revival and political prosperity of the region, the MPs allied to DP Ruto have now drafted their proposal to the deputy president ahead of 2022 polls.
Tunataka mazungumzo yawe sio mazungumzo ya kuzungumzia vyeo na viti. Tunataka tuanzie mazungumzo na yawe yanazingatia tabu na maisha ya mwananchi ambaye tunamwakilisha.
You know very well that the government that we elected before and the government that came after the handshake is different. As a matter of fact, the deputy president has been idle since that time. So he has a lot of unspent energy.
In a meeting held at Kimani Ichung'wa's Kikuyu home Thursday, the organizing committee said discussions between Mount Kenya region leaders and Deputy President William Ruto will be held in two phases. The first phase will focus on the economic revival of the region, agreeing on various prerequisite programs and interventions, before discussing the involvement and participation in implementing the agreed economic interventions in the second phase.
I know we are politicians, but you are not here for politics. Our agenda number one, insofar as 2022 is concerned, number one is economy. Our number two agenda of this team is the economy. And number three agenda of this team from Mount Kenya region is the economy.
We are really just only focusing at this point and in this phase on economic growth of the country, on getting us back on track. And once we are back on track, then every Kenyan will be happy.
The MPs who have since received backlash from their Kieleweke counterparts now wants them to cease from interfering with their agenda, urging them to initiate discussions with their candidate of choice.
Our people have been impoverished, millions of livelihoods destroyed. Many of our traders and business people have deliberately been driven into poverty through government policies coupled with unprecedented high-handedness.
One of our principles as this team is that we would rather be led in a country that is rich than being leaders in a country that is poor. And therefore, our bare minimum, so to say, is not the other questions that others have been asking about which position are you getting in this arithmetic. Our bare minimum is the revival of our economy.
This comes barely a week after the MPs held a meeting at Mathira MP Rigathi Gachagwa's home in Karen, nominating him in an 11-member committee to initiate talks with the Deputy President William Ruto. Andreen Kilemi, TV47.
Thank you, Andreen Kilemi, for that report. Keep talking to us. Send us a message on 22047. The hashtag to use is TV47 News Tonight. Time for us to take another short break. Stay tuned.
Raukia siku njema na tunukiwa offers kila siku. Pata offers zote mahali pamoja ili uongee zaidi, utume SMS zaidi na ubrowse zaidi.
Wewe usijali. Tuma namba ya kila supplier kwa hiyo soko. Nitajua vile nitaongea na kila mmoja wao.
Very good. Piga *444 hash utunukiwe Credo double.
Raukia siku njema na tunukiwa offers kila siku.
Oh, hi. It's not what you're thinking. It's a cup of coffee. Coffee, movie. Together, coffee with movie. Every Sunday, 8 p.m. on TV47, where we bring you interesting, enticing people. Well, we've concentrated on musicians.
Yeah.
Producers.
So now I manage, because telemanagement and events management, I think was my passion.
Right about now, we want to go beyond to the counties and to other countries. How see you? Let the sun stand still like Joshua time for 3 hours, but this time for only 1 hour. We bring you coffee with movie. Interesting, enticing guests. How see you? Tunaweza anza tuna Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, twende Uganda, Magufuli Land, TZ, you never know. It is coffee with movie. Jua unaweza enda sasa.
Okay.
Before the markets open, farmers begin their day, each with a desire to produce the best. But how can they increase the numbers, maintain the standards,
Aitoi ile garlic inafaa itoi, that standard garlic.
reduce the cost,
we spread our risk,
and yet remain the best? Kilimo Diaries, every Sunday when the clock hits 7:30 p.m. The story continues to unfold. The race to win Abel's heart continues.
Mwanamke ataniona, Abel is mine. Mwanamke mgani ni nani huyo na nini mbaya?
The betrayal.
Manze chinja hakuna blanda sasa ndio huyo madam pale hivi sasa.
And the secrets.
Jenny, si nikwambia napenda Abel. Nampenda tena sana. Lakini nashindwa.
Welcome back to TV47 News Tonight. Now, 3 people have died after a drive-past shooting incident in Changamwe, Mombasa County on Wednesday night. Another person is fighting for his life in a critical condition at the Coast General Hospital. Police are yet to arrest anyone connected to the incident, Maria Mwacharo reports.
It's a case that is shrouded in mystery and many unanswered questions. A car with 4 occupants was sprayed with tens of bullets by unknown people at the Changamwe roundabout. The driver of the cars succumbed to the gunshot wounds on the spot, while 2 of the passengers died while receiving treatment at the Coast General Hospital. The sight of the car that was towed to Changamwe Police Station tells the horror that befell its occupants at around 8:30 p.m. Wednesday night. Police say they're yet to get any leads on the perpetrators of the heinous act, but are hoping to glean some information from the only survivor of the deadly assault, who is currently recuperating in hospital. The hitmen were in an unidentified car that sped off after the shooting. Changamwe Sub-County Commander David Matthews said they are in the process of identifying the 3 passengers of the ill-fated car. Police recovered the driver's license and 4 mobile phones in the car.
The occupants of this motor vehicle that is not known fired towards this Toyota Auris, killing the driver on the spot. And the other 3 occupants, because the vehicle had 4 occupants, the other 3 occupants were seriously injured. And this morning, the other 2 have succumbed to the injuries. The only survivor who is not stable to give us more information is hospitalized at Coast General Hospital. Not very stable, but we believe and pray that he will be okay. And thereafter he will give us some information on what transpired before this incident took place.
A look at the Toyota Auris station wagon registration number KDA 343S gives the impression that the attackers were more interested in the driver, as most of the bullet holes are on the driver's door. The bullet holes on this car tell the tale of the incident that ensued last night, as investigations continue to establish the root cause of the incident. Maria Mwacharo, TV47, Mombasa County.
Elsewhere, the world marked the Earth Day today, with many Kenyans saying that they are mindful of their impact on the environment since the outbreak of COVID-19. However, the country is yet to attain the 10% forest cover, despite numerous efforts to improve the situation.
The world marked the Earth Day amidst cases of climate change, locust invasion, among other global challenges. However, recent research on sustainability revealed some marked increase in consumer passion for the environment. The report states that about 92% of adults are willing to take personal action to combat environmental and sustainability issues. In Kenya, at least 94% says they are mindful of their impact on the environment since COVID-19. In marking the day, Mount Kenya University led in a tree planting exercise.
For those who have looked at the Vision 2030, but the President in his wisdom gave us a challenge that we should attain that coverage by 2022. And as KFS alone, we cannot do that.
That will be taking care from the students, that will be taking care of the trees and also enjoying and doing some activities down here. And I want to say, from the Board of Directors, we want to increase the support that we give to the Vice Chancellor for research by about 3 million so that you can be able to support students in a nature club or something like that will be walking around and doing something.
This year's theme focuses on natural processes, emerging green technologies, and innovative thinking that can restore the world's ecosystem. Tree planting was also taking place at the Mitungu Technical Institute in Meru County, where more than 1,000 trees were planted.
Tuko na miti ambayo ni traditional kama kawasorina na mguan, na tuko na pia avocado ambazo tuko nazo hapa 200, na hizi traditional ones ni miti 800.
In Trans Nzoia County, the county assembly has passed a bill that will enable the county government to allocate more funds that will go a long way in conserving the environment.
We just passed the climate fund bill, which is going to put us in a position to mobilize the resources to protect our environment. Apart from the climate change fund bill that was passed by the assembly, we have a lot of interlinkages with other departments. For example, the Department of Agriculture. How do we bring in the issue of climate smart agriculture?
Our people, especially in Mount Elgon, kuna wengi wameingia katika misitu. Tunawauliza tuweze kutumia misitu yetu kwa njia ambayo inafaa, tusilime ndani sana, tutoke nje tuweze kupanda miti ili manufaa ya miti yetu pia itusaidie. Wanasema hewa safi, maisha bora.
The country is planning to achieve at least 10% forest cover in line with the Vision 2030 from the current 7.2%. Bonfas Barasa, TV47.
Elsewhere, Nairobi residents have voiced their concerns regarding the construction of the 67 billion shillings Nairobi Expressway. And as Daniel Masiza reports, water shortage and traffic jams are the main concerns.
According to the residents, especially those using Mombasa Road, Uhuru Highway and Waiyaki Way, the China Road Corporation contractor has placed too many diversions which slow down movement, causing near gridlocks on the roads daily. The situation is even made worse by continued flooding around Nyayo Stadium on Uhuru Highway, with bodaboda operators and passers-by having a rough time.
Ile shida tuko nayo hapa ni hii diversions imewekwa hapa. Sasa kama umetoka town ukitaka kwenda side ya Nyayo, ni lazima usukuke mpaka huko chini. Na sasa ukibishana na magari kidogo wanaweza kuguza. Alafu makosa ingine iko hapa ni maji yenye iko hapa Nyayo. Hiyo maji ni sewage kabisa. Sisi tukiomba kama serikali, hiyo maji jaribu venye itadivert kwa side nyingine, juu hata wewe mwenyewe huwezi pitia hapo. Hata kama unapita na mguu ama unapita na pikipiki, hiyo maji inasumbua sana.
Barabara imefungwa, maji ndio hiyo. Vitu mingi hapa tunapitia, hata customer anakataa kupanda bike. So, naweza angalia serikali ione kama inaweza tutengenezea barabara vizuri. Hata diversion ikuwe straightforward venye tutatumika. Inatuadhiri sana juu hiyo maji ni sewage. Inakuchafua, unaenda ukinuka mpaka customer anakataa bike yako. Ungetaka hata at least hiyo maji.
According to Nairobi Water and Sewerage Company Managing Director Engineer Nashon Muguna, the company is also feeling the heat after some of its pipes were damaged due to the ongoing construction, leading to a water shortage in some parts of Nairobi.
Was damaged next to the Pope Francis shrine, and